Hey friends, happy Thanksgiving. This video was filmed a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to hop on here and say just how thankful I am for all of you. I appreciate all of your continued support, and for those of you who watch my videos and comment every single week, it just means so very much to me, and I just wanted to say thank you. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season with your family and friends. Now on to the video. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, and for those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Amy. I have another ship with me video for you today. Today is Monday, November 3rd, and these are sales from over the weekend. It was a pretty great weekend, and then I decided to participate in closet clear out, which I've never really tried to fully do that. I've just reduced a few items here and there and never really had much success. But I decided to use Poshmark VA, and I had them automatically reduce every item in my closet by 20%. And I got quite a few sales from that. Then I also had Poshmark VA send out 10% off offers on everything in my closet after I had reduced it by 20%. And I got a few more sales from that. So tomorrow I am going to increase my prices back up 20% just so that I have room to make offers on items. But overall, I was happy with trying out the closet clear out. It worked pretty well. Okay, so let's get started. The first sale is this vintage Givenchy necklace, and it is gold and silver tone. I would guess this is from the 1970s or the 1980s. There is the mark there. I picked this up at an estate sale, and it was the sale where they had a whole room full of jewelry, and they were, bags of jewelry for, most of them were $10, and this was in there. So really great find. I paid less than $1 for this, and it sold for $143. I am thrilled. Didn't take a super long time to sell, maybe 6 months or so. And I did have quite a few lowball offers on this. One gal was just really persistent trying to get it for like $80, which I guess maybe isn't totally lowball, but I just didn't want to sell it for that price. I had gotten good prices for Givenchy stuff in the past, and so I decided to hold out, and I'm glad I did because that $143 is much better. Like I said, I paid $1 or less for it, so that made my profit $113.40. Super excited about this sale. And let's see, I think I might actually put this in a box rather than a poly mailer. Okay, the next item's another pretty great sale. It is this really dainty little butterfly necklace and chain. This is real gold. This was listed for quite some time, and it ended up selling for $120. I hope to get a little bit more for it. But like I said, it had been listed for a while, so I just decided to accept that. I paid about $5 for this at an estate sale, so that made my profit $91. A couple really great profits, which I'm really excited about. Some of the items coming up aren't quite as exciting, but every sale counts, and the bread and butter items all add up, and I like to have a mix of things, so there's something for everyone to be able to afford. So I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be for this, but do you guys offer holds on item? Every now and again, I have people request me to hold an item, and for the most part, I do not, but I had a buyer, a previous buyer ask for a hold, but it was on a $25 pair of earrings. She wanted me to hold them for 2 weeks. And in my experience, that kind of thing doesn't usually work out. Let me know what you guys think. I told her no, just because a lot of times you hold them, or you put on hold, and then the people never come back. And then maybe you missed out on selling it to someone else. Okay, the next item that sold is this pair of turquoise and sterling silver earrings. These are the brand Barse, B-A-R-S-E. And I've had pretty good luck with this brand. I think that's what it is. That's what they're marked. I seem to be able to get a little bit higher prices than just standard silver jewelry when they are marked Barse. Did I say these sold for $52? So I think that's really great. I got these at the estate sale where I spent $890, so I only paid $3 for them. So that made my profit $38.60. Very happy with that. So these did take a while to sell. I don't remember if I got these listed right away or if I listed them later, but they're definitely been listed at least 6 months. But I've mentioned in the past that, you know, for jewelry, I'm just fine if it takes a little while to sell because it really doesn't take up much space. Okay, the next item, something a little bit different, a belt. This is by Levi's and it is quite distressed, but it's still sold for $21, which I'm just fine with, especially for, you know, kind of the distressed condition. I don't know if I paid $3 or $1 for this, but usually on average, I end up paying about $3 for belts. So I put that as my cost of goods. So that made my profit $13.80. Nothing to write home about, but I still love picking up and selling belts. It's just fun to me. And my brown belt storage section is getting down. It was overflowing for a while, so I stopped picking up brown belts and belts in general just because I had so many and they weren't selling as quickly. But now it seems like they are back to selling quickly, which makes me very happy. Okay, the next item is this vintage hand knit sweater. I use the word Cowichan as kind of the style of sweater. It is hooded, very thick, very chunky. And this ended up selling for $70. I priced it at a little bit less because it was pretty worn and it looked like it was possible that it had been washed incorrectly and kind of shrunk down a little bit. But I provided the measurements and included that information in the description, and the buyer still bought it for $70. I would still wear it the way it is. I think it's cute. So hopefully she read the description and is happy. I paid $5 for this at an estate sale. Let's see, am I going to be able to get this packaged up here? Boy, am I glad that I got my Ground Advantage boxes, because I don't know what I would have been doing with all these bulky coats and sweaters that I've been selling recently. I'm really glad to have that large box. So my profit on this was $51. All of the sales that I am shipping out today sold on Poshmark. I didn't have sales on any other platform over the weekend. But Poshmark really provided, so I am not going to complain. I can't remember if we've talked about this a little bit. So the search function on Poshmark has changed, and when you search for an item, the results come sorted by relevance instead of just shared. I can't remember why I was bringing that up, but probably because Poshmark is still doing well for me. So it's not as important to share your closet all the time, but I do think that it is still important to share your closet, I would say minimum once a day, because it's possible that people are still adjusting the search results to just shared, and it shows that you are active on the app, which Poshmark wants you to be active on the app. If you have to choose between sharing your closet and listing new items because of time, definitely list new items or edit your listings instead of sharing them. It does not sound like sharing other people's listings is worth anything anymore. And it hasn't been worth much for a long time. But also they took away that part of the news feed. So it's your news feed is now just picked for you, and what is the other thing? Posh shows, I think. So it's just really, sharing's just really not as important, and I just want to make sure that I mention that. So I really think that listing new items and either editing or sending offers on your items is going to be far better use of your time than sharing your closet. Now, if you pay for a virtual assistant like Posher VA, or if you use Vendu or PrimeLister or something like that, and you're already paying for it, I would just keep having your closet shared, frequently. It probably doesn't need to be as much as it used to. But I have kept my Posher VA sharing my items and sending out offers, and my sales seem to be staying pretty steady. I'm also listing consistently. That is a big, bulky sweater. Okay, so the next item took forever to sell. I said this before, I wouldn't recommend picking this type of thing up. It's a vintage velour house coat or robe. I picked up a couple of these all at the same time, and this is the last one that I have. I thought that I saw some good comps on eBay for them when I picked them up, but they just did not turn out to be good. This sold for $19. It took a couple of years to sell. The other ones sold in, a similar price point. And this was Vanity Fair, which I think it was the Vanity Fair ones that I thought were worth more. But whatever. Glad to get this out of my inventory. I picked this up at a fill the bag sale, so I paid less than $1 for it. So that made my profit $14.20. But it's been listed a couple years, so definitely I do not recommend picking this up. Just not worth the time to list, in my opinion. But happy to get that $14 profit and move it out of my inventory. I really have been liking using poly mailers more than I thought I would. I always just used the priority mail boxes because they were free and never bought any poly mailers, but they just take up less space. They're kind of easier to work with. They may not be as environmentally friendly, but still, I am liking using them for what they are. And who knows? I mean, they take up less space than paper boxes. I don't know. Okay, the next item it sold is this vintage pair of men's pants, and these are Polo Ralph Lauren. I like to pick up this old label in men's stuff that has unique elements to it. So this has Polo High Tech. It has these inserts in it. It has padding to the back. So some people really like this era of polo stuff, and it can command pretty decent prices. These ended up selling for $61, which I think is pretty great. They did take a while to sell for that price, and I had them priced higher than that, but this buyer ended up paying 30% off of what I had them listed at. I think I paid $6.99 for these at the Goodwill. It's possible I paid $9.99, but I put my cost of goods as $7, so that made my profit $41.80. I'm happy with that, and these also can take a little while these vintage polo pieces can take a little while to sell if you don't price them right, or have the right keywords. but I'm happy with that $61. I looked at this guy's love notes that he had left for other purchases, and all of them were vintage polo items. So he's one of those people who is really into it. Okay, the last sale just came through, and I'm not sure if I'm not going to ship it out without talking to the buyer first, because I'm not sure if I properly described it in the listing. So it's this really cute wicker tote, vintage, and it looks good when you're carrying it, but one of the handles has tape wrapped around it. There's fraying and repairs down here, which I did note all of that, but I didn't note this, where it's frayed here and it's been taped up. It does show sort of in some of the pictures, but I just want to make sure that the buyer is okay with that before I ship it out. It sold for $32. I only paid $1 for this on the last day of an estate sale. So if the sale goes through, that would make my profit $24.60. When I grabbed this on the last day, I did not notice all these flaws. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten it. But it's really, I mean, if you're just carrying it, no one would even know that that's a problem. But just want to make sure that the buyer's not disappointed with it. And, I never want to like misrepresent an item. I want the buyer to get what I say they're going to get. Okay, well, overall, a really great weekend. I hope your sales are going well. Don't go anywhere. This video will continue with what else I sell this week, and I'll be right back. Hey again, it's Wednesday, and I've got quite a few more sales to ship out. I went to the Goodwill today instead of shipping earlier in the day, so pardon the light, the sun's about to go down, but hopefully I can still get these to the post office before they close. So no super big exciting sales, but lots of inventory moving out, so I'm feeling like it's the season of sales again. I've been waiting for this feeling to come again. You guys know I had the summer of sales one year, and that was great. I had a really great year, or a really great few months. So I just realized I forgot to organize my labels here. Okay, so the first item that sold is this Chico's belt. It's leather, and it has this kind of gold tone hook buckle. It's adjustable like this on the back. Historically, I've done well with this style of Chico's belt, either with a gold buckle or a bigger like silver statement buckle. So if I see them for, I like to stay $3 and under, then I will pick them up. They don't fly off the shelves, but they seem to sell relatively quickly. This one sold for $20. I paid $3 for it, so that made my profit $13. Not a huge profit, but you guys know I love buying and selling belts, so I am just fine with that. Okay, the next item that sold is this vintage gold tone necklace. It is beaded, and this is actually by Napier, which I like this brand and Monet. Their vintage pieces are really nice quality, and they seem to sell pretty well for me too. So this ended up selling for $36. It took a few months to sell, but not a super long time. I picked this up at that estate sale where they had the room full of jewelry and bags of jewelry for $10 a piece. And the funny thing is, after I got home from that sale with all the jewelry and went through the baggies, because at the sale, like I've said before, you couldn't really go through the baggies. It was pretty competitive. And I got home and I felt like, I didn't really get any showstopper pieces. But, just in the last month or so, I've sold quite a few of the pieces that I've gotten. So I think it's turned out to be a really great buy. Nowhere near, the estate sale where I spent $890, but still some good pieces, and I've made some good profits. So I paid less than $1 for this, so that made my profit $27.80. I'm happy with that. Sometimes this Napier brand, depending on the style, can go for higher amounts. But I think this kind of $36, $30 to $40 range is just fine for that piece. Okay, the next item is another item that I got at that sale. Now, I'm not really sure if I undersold this or not. It is a vintage Mosaic bracelet, and definitely had it have been perfect, I would have held out for more, but it had quite a few pieces missing of the mosaic on both ends, like some bigger holes. Obviously, it's not really noticeable because it's so small, but still it was flawed. And it ended up selling for $34. Come to find out, some of these mosaic pieces can have some pretty substantial values. In fact, I sold a ring, a mosaic ring. I think I got $20 or $30 for it, and I was doing some research recently on mosaic stuff, and I saw that the rings go for high prices, even if they're just total costume jewelry. So I messed up on that one. So I have said before, that this isn't always the greatest, but I definitely would do your research if you find some of these pieces, because it does look like some of them can go for higher amounts than others. I paid less than $1 for this because I got a whole bag for $10. So that made my profit $26.20. Did I say this sold for $34? I can't remember if I just started talking about it or not. But I'm happy to move it along. I've mentioned that, sometimes those mosaic pieces can sit for me, but maybe they have shifted in popularity. A lot of times the costume jewelry, things will come and go out of popularity and people will be buying them, and then sometimes they won't. So, okay, the next item is just this teeny tiny little sterling silver plain charm. This only sold for $13. I've gotten more for charms in the past, but this one has been listed a really long time. So I just accepted the $13 offer. No need to wait around anymore for a lot more on that. I paid about $1 for this, so that made my profit $9.05. Probably not my ideal sale, but still, an okay sale nonetheless. Well, it looks like somehow I have lost one of my shipping labels. I thought I had it earlier. Well, I will just put it on the screen here, but I sold this cute, teeny tiny little bird brooch. I think it sold for 20 something. And I just loved this. I love birds, but I never ended up wearing it, so I was ready to let it go. I probably only paid $1 or $2 for this. That's gonna make my profit somewhere in the $18 to $20 range. Like I said, I'll put it on the screen here. Sorry, I don't know what happened to that label. Okay, the next item's a little bit better, but not totally. So it's this pair of vintage leather dingo boots. And the fact of the matter on these is that I overpaid for them. I paid $22. I was on one of my thrift highs and thought that that was a really good price, or I should get them. I don't know. But I think it was just too much to pay for this plain style of boot. And this buyer offered me $51, which was half of what I had them listed for. But they'd been listed for somewhere around 6 months. Let's see, I'm gonna need bigger pieces of paper for these, so I'll just package them up off camera. And so I just decided I was ready to move them along. Just because I overpaid for them doesn't mean that that they're worth that much. So did I say they sold for $51? I paid $22, so that made my profit $18.80. Still almost a $20 profit, which is just fine. I'm not going to complain about that. And just focusing on this being a piece of inventory that I bought to resell, and I am selling it. So that's great. Well, I hope I have some more bigger, exciting sales to share with you in the next few days. Like I said, it's only Wednesday. But so far, I'm happy with the number of items that I'm shipping out this week. Okay, don't go anywhere. This video will continue with what else I sell, and I'll be right back. Hey again, it's Friday, and I've got a couple more things to ship out. The first sale is this pair of vintage earrings, and these are just costume jewelry, but I thought they were really beautiful and unusual. They are screwbacks. Not really sure on the age of these, but they kind of have a Victorian style to them. The craftsmanship didn't make me think that they were that old, but I am not as knowledgeable on really old jewelry. More knowledgeable on, you know, items from like the 50s through the 90s. Anyways, I thought these were pretty. They ended up selling for $30. I only paid about $3 for them, so that made my profit $21. I'm happy with that. Not going to complain about a $30 sale for sure. Okay, so the next item is this really cute vintage tooled leather bag. I really liked the shape and size of this. It did have some marks on the bottom here, so it ended up selling for $37, which I still think is a pretty great sale price considering it was kind of flawed, but I mean, really, you're not gonna notice those spots on there when you're carrying it or anything. So I always get excited for these tooled leather bags, and they don't always sell for super high prices. I've mentioned this before, but I picked this up for about $5, so turning that into $37 is still pretty great. So that made my profit $24.60. I don't think I mentioned it in this video. Most of you guys are regular viewers, but when I'm talking about my profit, I am deducting website fees, my cost of goods, and any shipping discounts. Okay, did I say my profit was $24.60 on this? So I am happy with that. I think I am going to use the shoebox size for this bag. I am so happy to have gotten these, and I did kind of test this out before I wrapped it, and it turns out that it is just almost the perfect size. The only thing that I am missing for these Ground Advantage boxes is one of those little like videotape size one that I used to use all the time for my jewelry, and there are no small boxes that I know of, unless I ordered something and I haven't gotten it yet. I did get my padded envelopes this week. I have not brought them to the shop yet. They're still at my house, but I think I might have more things coming. I'm not sure. Okay, so the next sale, these did not sell for as much as I wanted them to. They sold for $20. They are Ms. Moo's, which does have a higher retail price, but historically this brand has kind of sat for me, and considering we are going into fall and winter, when I got this $20 offer, I just decided to go ahead and accept it. I only paid $5 for these, so that made my profit $11. You know, not a huge home run sale or anything, but as I've been saying all week, you know, every little bit counts, and having these bread and butter sales is still great. And I'm happy to move through some inventory. I've had quite a few number of sales this week. Not super high dollar sales, but I'll take it. You guys know how it is. So like I said, it's Friday. I will ship again tomorrow, and if I don't have any more sales, then I'll just tell you what my total sales and everything were. It is late in the day on Friday, so I was not feeling well yesterday. Actually, I thought I was sick, but I think that I just ate something bad because I feel fine today. But the last couple of days, I did not list much, so I don't have huge expectations for sales. But Hopefully I'll get some listings done tonight. My husband just left for fishing again. He'll just be gone for 3 or 4 days this time. This weekend, well, next week is Veterans Day. So yeah, hopefully I have some more sales to share with you. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Hey again, it's actually Monday and I didn't end up having any more sales in that 24-hour period. So here are my totals for the week. Turned out to be an okay week. Of course, I would like to meet my goals, which I didn't, but my total sales for the week were $759. My total cost of goods was $67, and my total profit after I deduct any website fees, cost of goods, and any shipping discounts was $539.85. Not going to complain. It's okay. I sold a total of 16 items though, which is higher than normal. So I'm happy about that. That made my average sale price $47.44. My average cost of goods, $4.19. And my average profit per sale, $33.74. All those are just fine. I sold a total of 7 pieces of jewelry, 2 accessories, 3 pieces of clothing, 2 handbags, and 2 pairs of shoes. So no big standouts. Hopefully this coming week is better, and I hope you guys are all having great sales. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you all again next week. Bye-bye.